Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of CoinNewsExtra interview session. So we will be talking about staying regulation compliant in crypto and blockchain. So we have an expert, a personality in this space that will be helping us to talk about it. We have Jason Tucker-Feltham. Jason Tucker-Feltham is founder and CEO Venrai. Jason, you are welcome to CoinNewsExtra.
Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you. So you have experience, you stay in this space, and you have experience, and also your company is about regulation, staying regulation compliant. And this topic is coming, and it's a very hot topic now, most especially us here in Nigeria. The SEC coming up with regulations about cryptocurrency. So what? Before we go straight, let me not go straight. We would like to know a brief about you, just briefly.
So in terms of my experience, I started off in the banking industry. So way back in 2008, I started off at Lehman Brothers as a corporate generalist analyst, and actually worked at Lehman Brothers through its bankruptcy. So once Lehman Brothers folded, then I helped wind down Lehman Brothers as an investment bank, paying back client money to its creditors. And after that, I worked in New York City in Deutsche Bank, and subsequently relocated with Deutsche Bank to London, and then subsequently worked as an Italian banking group. So the vast majority of my experience prior to digital assets was in the investment banking space. But I used that compliance industry knowledge to create a company, Venrai, which specializes in digital asset compliance advisory. So it leverages off that institutional regulatory knowledge, which is now becoming more and more applicable to the digital asset space. So I'm a traditional guy with a fairly boring background, but now I've used that experience to get into this very, very interesting space and help a lot of companies along the way using my past experience at banks.
Interesting. You have experience in the finance sector. So I'll move into the interview. So the topic is staying regulation compliant in crypto and blockchain. What does it mean to stay regulation compliant?
So this is a big topic. So being regulatory compliant is an ever-evolving space. Just because you may be compliant with regulations today doesn't necessarily mean you are compliant with regulations tomorrow. There are constantly amendments and new regulations coming out, which you need to keep abreast of, which is why I personally contribute to a number of regulatory consultations in the digital asset space. That way, by understanding what the regulators are considering, you can anticipate what are the best approaches, what are the best practices to deploy for crypto companies. So crypto in of itself is not regulated right now. Most major jurisdictions have yet to create the regulatory frameworks that quite fit crypto assets. They're struggling even to have a harmonized definition of what crypto assets are. They've got lots and lots of different descriptions, but they differ depending on the regulator, and they differ depending on the jurisdiction. So being regulatory compliant in the digital asset space is complex. But one of the emerging things that we see right now is that the regulators are expanding the perimeter of their existing regulations to cover digital assets. And one of the key things in Europe has been the fifth anti-money laundering directive. And also globally, there's the FATF guidance, which recently has brought in new guidance as to how countries police crypto asset activities. And this includes doing due diligence on customers, even if they are executing transactions on the blockchain. But more and more, the indications are that there will be major regulations coming in that directly regulate crypto assets themselves. And the EU may be one of the first jurisdictions to do that. But all regulators around the world are consulting on how to regulate crypto. So it's not just one regulation that people need to consider. It's lots and lots of regulations depending on the jurisdiction that they operate in. So the most dangerous of jurisdictions, of course, is the US. So a lot of companies do the decision not to transact with customers over there in the US just because of how dangerous it is over there in terms of if you breach regulations. So yes, a lot of things to consider.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much. Still on these regulations, and you talked about how some of these countries, nations around the world have not been able to come out with proper regulations. So, how can crypto and blockchain companies stay compliant to regulations?
Well, it's not always the case that crypto companies stay compliant. In a lot of cases, on the best efforts basis, the likes of Coinbase, Binance, and other exchanges, as an example, you generally see KYC, know your customer procedures, as part of their onboarding process. And this is one way in which crypto companies attempt to do the right thing, to understand who they are serving, and to avoid some unmonitored activity on their exchanges, which could be construed as, money laundering kind of activities, or other sort of activities, or allowing customers who are subject to financial sanctions, these kind of activities that any company wants to avoid. But there are new regulations such as the FATF travel rule, which most companies are really struggling to comply with, because the technology is in its infancy for allowing compliance with the travel rule. So if customers are using virtual asset service providers such as exchanges to send payments between those exchanges, the travel rule mandates that the customer details travels with the payment. So on blockchain transactions, this doesn't happen natively on the blockchain. The blockchain handles the transaction itself. And so the likes of Elliptic and CoolBitX and lots of other providers are working on solutions that would allow crypto asset providers to be compliant with the travel rule. Now, the FATF guidance has been adopted by jurisdictions around the world. Most major jurisdictions adopt FATF guidance, and so it's not always the case that providers are instantly compliant, but it is the case that most major providers do their best to keep compliant to the best of their ability and pursue technologies that allow them to remain compliant. But sometimes compliance is a game of catching up with these regulations, because sometimes the regulations have not been thought through enough before deployment. But in any case, most major crypto companies, they hire guys like me to assess the regulatory landscape and to see if there are any gaps in their control processes, and where there are gaps, you fill those gaps, and then you become compliant. So it's a case of always looking at the regulatory landscape because it's always changing.
Interesting. So we've been able to talk about how crypto platforms and projects can stay regulatory compliant. Are there some things the regulatory bodies should do to encourage more companies to stay compliant to their regulatory guidelines?
Absolutely. So regulators around the world often issue consultation papers to get some feedback on proposed upcoming regulation. But one of the things that I have noticed is that often these consultation papers are more visible to your traditional industry participants, such as the banks and large corporations. But what needs to be done a bit better by the regulators is actually having enhanced dialogue with your major crypto brands. Because by having that dialogue with those that understand the space as it is right now the best, regulators are then able to create regulation which is proportionate and effective. But regulators seem to struggle with the idea of having these enhanced dialogues because in some cases they fear that there might be some sort of collusive activity going on. But in my mind, there is no other way in which to deploy regulation which actually works for the industry. It's not difficult to create regulation which reduces risk on paper, but to actually reduce risk in the real world blockchain space, you need to talk to the experts. And the experts are the people that have been around for several years, operating directly in the space, as opposed to those participants that wish to enter the space. Because even if you have a big banking institution that knows a little bit about crypto, without actually operating in the crypto space, you never understand the space. So regulators need to have more targeted conversations with the experts.
Interesting. Jason, you are founder and CEO of Venrai. And how is Venrai playing a role in this regulatory sector?
So Venrai keeps abreast of upcoming regulation. We engage directly with regulators on their consultations. So whenever there is a new proposed regulation, we review the wording and the implications of the regulation, and we provide feedback to the regulators as to what should be considered as part of that regulation. So by doing that, we're having our say as to what is going to be best for the space, what is going to allow the space to continue to thrive, to continue to innovate, but at the same time, trying to also have proportionate regulation, which does prohibit bad actors and bad activity on the blockchain. Because we don't want to live in a world whereby terrorists and terrorist organizations are getting funds easier around the world, and the world would become a worse place as a result of that ease of transacting. The technology of blockchain is incredibly powerful, and it allows so many to participate in a wider financial landscape. But that's not to say that we should just forget about the risks and the reasons why your traditional financial transactions are policed heavily. So we at Venrai, we try and create proportionate guidance for the regulators. And then we use that hot, off the press knowledge of regulation to consult our customers in the blockchain space. So one of the hardest things for a startup and your early stage crypto business is understanding the regulatory landscape, because back 5-10 years ago, it was nigh on, it didn't exist really for the crypto space. But in recent years, there have been more and more regulations which impact crypto, and depending on your jurisdiction, you may even need to have a license to operate in the crypto space. So going through all these regulatory hurdles isn't easy, and you do need someone with the industry knowledge to navigate the regulatory landscape to make sure that the business is compliant, not just today, but also going forward, and in that way protect yourself from any penalties that might arise from non-compliance. So it's an expense for sure to get such expertise on board, but it also acts as a bit of an insurance that you're not going into the space blind to the risks, because those risks are becoming bigger and bigger, and the regulators are fining crypto companies huge sums of money, particularly in the US. The SEC is issuing massive fines, in particular to those projects that are deemed securities. So it's an important body of work to consider, and Venrai acts as a value add to any serious crypto business.
Interesting, because the one of the challenges facing the crypto and blockchain space has been regulation, either companies not staying regulated compliant, or the regulations not being clear. So these are some of the challenges facing the space. Thank you very much, Jason Tucker-Feltham, for joining us today on CoinNewsExtra interview.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope to be on this show again soon.
Yes, we will work in this an interesting topic.